The man was surprised to find through the cracks in the dungeon, the inhumane Japanese actually cut the chains of the cell. They released all the American prisoners of war. The Japanese motioned to the high sentry to stop firing. Finally, the Japanese ran quickly to the dungeon. He slashed down at the chain. He opened the manhole cover. The Japanese told the man inside to run for his life. However, men seemed to have expected these things to happen long ago. He raised his head and said calmly, "Don't bother. It's safer for him to hide here." But at this moment, the officer asked this Japanese to come and cut the abdomen. The defeat of Japan is a foregone conclusion. No matter how unwilling the Japanese are, they must also give their allegiance to the emperor. The young Japanese watched as the Japanese officers next to him all committed suicide. He grinned and hesitated. The U.S. Air Force rushed to drop an atomic bomb. The power of the atomic bomb leveled Nagasaki to the ground. But because of the kindness of the young Japanese just now, the man in the well decided to rescue him. As the shockwave from the explosion arrived, the Japanese jumped into the dungeon with all their lives. Men followed. When he pounced down on the face of the 1,000-degree flame, the man picked up the iron plate to protect the Japanese. The aroma of instant barbecue filled the dungeon. They wait for all to be at peace. Only then did the Japanese dare to open their eyes and look. He saw that the man's body had become incomplete, and what surprised him even more was, not only did the man not die, instead, his skin was healing at a rate visible to the naked eye. This scene terrified the Japanese on the spot. It turns out that the man is the Wolverine with immortality. Later, when the two of them finally crawled out of the dungeon, they saw the devastation of Nagasaki. The Japanese shed tears. In the blink of an eye, several years have passed. Wolverine is isolated. He lives in seclusion in the mountains, and he lives happily with the grizzly. Until that night, there was a sudden noise of gunfire in the forest. Wolverine braved the heavy rain to come out and check. He found that the grizzly bear that had accompanied him for many years had been hunted and killed. At this moment, the grizzly bear is lying on the ground, dying. Wolverine watched the grizzly bear suffer so much, he stretched out his claws. He personally killed his friend who had been with him for many years. Then Wolverine followed the residual smell to the bar, and the poacher was still explaining the grizzly bear attack. Wolverine walked up to him and punctured his arm. Then Wolverine sterilized him with alcohol. The pain was excruciating for men. He took the glass and smashed it in Wolverine's face. This move of his completely angered Wolverine. Wolverine stretched out his claws to end him. Suddenly he was stopped by a red-haired woman. Because it's not Wolverine's turn to do this kind of trivial thing, the woman turned around and kicked the man down. Then she hit the man in front of the crowd. Then she left the place with Wolverine. The woman's name is Yukio. She was asked by her employer to find Wolverine. And that employer was the Japanese that Wolverine had rescued before. Now his time is running out. He wanted to see Wolverine one last time before he died. Then they took a plane to Tokyo. They saw Yashida lying in a hospital bed, and his sweet-looking granddaughter, Wolverine, was instantly attracted by her beauty. But Mariko didn't want Wolverine to go see her grandfather in such a dirty state. Yukio had to take Wolverine to take a bath first. After sorting, Wolverine has changed back to his once handsome appearance. Then Yukio took him to Yashida, and the doctor on the side told him to talk for only 5 minutes. Yashida was astonished to see his former savior. Wolverine is still as young as he used to be, and he's aging. In order to express his life-saving grace for many years, he said to Wolverine, he told Wolverine that immortality was actually a curse, and he is willing to accept this curse for Wolverine. When Wolverine heard this, he thought the old man was a fool. Yashida also knew that it was impossible to convince him so easily, so he changed the subject. He made another request. He asked Wolverine to protect his granddaughter Mariko after his death, until she inherited his inheritance, and this time Wolverine did not refuse. Wolverine goes to bed on time at night. He had a dream about his girlfriend, Kayla, in a trance. But suddenly, in reality, she became another woman, and she breathed poison into Wolverine. The alloy wolf claws sprang out in an instant, but there was no sign of her. Then something outside interrupted Wolverine's thoughts. He opened the door and took a look. It turned out that Shujitian was already dead, and the next day, Wolverine came to Shujitian's memorial ceremony, but he found that the people who did it had tattoos on their bodies. He tried to stop Mariko. He didn't expect the person to shoot directly. The scene became chaotic in an instant, and Wolverine just realized his ability to heal was suppressed. He watched as Mariko was taken away. Wolverine didn't have time to think about it. He immediately went into combat mode. Yukio came in with a long stick to assist. Wolverine stretched out its claws and started killing. But Wolverine, who has no self-healing ability, keeps getting shot. It made him a little dazed for a while. Wolverine is still fighting despite serious injuries. He leaps faster. Wolverine went after him. He cleaned up the scene with ease. Then Wolverine quickly fled to the street with Mariko, but the gang members are still chasing after them. The two of them fled all the way to the train station and got on the green leather train. He took advantage of the gap. Wolverine performed simple treatment of wounds. He was protected by steel. The bullet didn't hit any important parts of Wolverine, but his self-healing ability suddenly disappeared. It made him very puzzled. When he came out of the toilet, and they rounded him up again. Wolverine immediately stretched out its claws when he saw this. The two sides once again engaged in a fierce confrontation. Wolverine slashed through the carriage with one claw and kicked an enemy out. But they are on the way to entanglement. Wolverine was also thrown out of the car together. Seeing that he was about to crash into the obstacle ahead, Wolverine successfully dodged the disaster by turning over in one shot. Now they were both lying on top of the train. They looked at each other. Those who can fight with Wolverine are by no means ordinary people. The two of them fought again. They were faced with billboards that were quickly bumping into their eyes. The man hurriedly lay down. Wolverine also fell down. Then Wolverine jumped up behind the man. He succeeded in deceiving men with a fake move, but there is still an enemy behind him. Wolverine saw this and took off at the right time. He used inertia to charge towards the enemy. Finally, Wolverine returned to the carriage again. He continued to flee with Mariko. Mariko then asked her veterinarian friend to remove the bullet from Wolverine's body. Then the two of them went to Mariko's wooden house in the country. She also explained to Wolverine. These killers were actually sent by her father, because all of Yashida's inheritance went to her granddaughter Mariko, and his son Shingen got nothing. He had to kidnap Mariko and keep her from showing up until the will was published. Shingen can get the inheritance logically, but now all his plans have been ruined by Wolverine. Over time, the relationship between the two of them gradually warmed up. On a night of thunderstorms, the hungry and thirsty couple finally indulged their desires, and the next morning, Wolverine heard a cry for help outside. He hurried out, and he finds out that Mariko has been kidnapped by the gang again. Wolverine desperately pursued. Unexpectedly, he was shot again in the thigh. He had a gang member. But in the end, he still watched helplessly as Mariko was captured. Here, Mariko was brought before his father. But in order to receive the inheritance, now he wants to kill Mariko. As her biological daughter, she was completely disheartened. Before he could do it, the mansion was attacked by a group of masked ninjas. Mariko was also taken away. It was Mariko's ex-boyfriend who came to save her. And the doctor next to Yashida also appeared here. In fact, she is a mutant. Her name was Viper. When Wolverine and Yukio arrive, they saw corpses lying all over the room. On a bodyguard, they found a note. It says that if they want to save Mariko, come to the Research Institute in Ishinoda. At this time, Wolverine noticed Yashida's high-tech medical bed. He wanted to see what was wrong with his body, so he immediately lay down on it. He activates the instrument. Sure enough, he found a worm on the heart. It was this bug that interfered with Wolverine's self-healing ability. So he directly stretched out his steel claws and cut himself to get the insects. Wolverine opened his chest with a claw, and he puts his whole hand in. He was about to take it out. Shingen, who was not dead, came to kill him. He thought it was Wolverine who disrupted all his plans. When he was about to kill Wolverine, fortunately, Yukio came out to stop it. However, they came down a few rounds against each other. Yukio was no match for Shingen. At this time, Wolverine finally took out the bugs in his body, but his heart stopped because of his severe injury. Shingen knocked Yukio down and tried to stab her to death, but it was stopped by the steel claws stretched out by Wolverine. Although Wolverine was on the verge of death just now, but he was saved again by a powerful self-healing power. He has the ability to heal himself. Wolverine can do whatever he wants again. The two of them were fighting each other. Shingen's knife skills are very rascal. He stabbed Wolverine multiple times. Wolverine cut the long knife with Edmund's claws, and he sends it flying. In the face of such a near-invincible Wolverine, Shingen didn't know what to do. But when Wolverine walked in front of him, but he put away the wolf claws, he didn't kill them. He wanted Shingen to live with the guilt of trying to kill his daughter. After Shingen's silence, he took the long knife and stabbed it into Wolverine's body again. After Wolverine stung, he ended Shingen's evil life with a wolf claw. Wolverine took the address and prepared to rescue Mariko. But he had just arrived near the laboratory. He was blocked by Mariko's ex-boyfriend. It turned out that he had already colluded with the Viper. The Viper promised to help him protect Mariko. He caught Wolverine for the Viper, and the Viper was just using him. However, he did not know that Wolverine had regained its healing ability. Seeing Wolverine's rapidly healing wounds, Harada was stunned. Seeing that he couldn't beat Wolverine, he immediately changed tactics. He sent his army of ninjas to fight Wolverine. Wolverine is in a difficult situation in the face of this group of elite ninja troops. In times of crisis, Yukio arrived in his snowplow. She ignored everything and opened a way for Wolverine. After they broke through the siege of the ninjas, the car also stopped running. Wolverine makes Yukio run out of the car. He himself took a cigar and lit a handsome cigarette. He thought it should be unobstructed now. He ran desperately towards where Mariko was. At the same time, ninjas kept shooting bows and arrows behind him. The ninja shoots him into a hedgehog. He had arrows with ropes stuck in his back. Wolverine's pace gradually slowed down. At this time, Harada, who was hiding in the dark, shot Wolverine with an arrow dipped in venom. He managed to capture him. When Wolverine wakes up from his coma, his hands were fixed with titanium alloy torture instruments. With his strength, he couldn't break free at all. Then the Viper came up to him. She used Mariko to provoke Wolverine with his steel claws. Unexpectedly, Wolverine fell into her trick. The steel claws are firmly fixed. Then, a steel-armored warrior made of Edmund alloy came to Wolverine. Then, he pulled out a broadsword, also made of Edmund metal. Slowly placed on top of the wolf claw, he's going to cut it down. And just as he was about to do it, Mariko appeared in time to interfere with the other party. Wolverine was able to get out of trouble. The samurai and the Viper pursued them simultaneously. Suddenly, the Viper was shot by an arrow. She fell from a tall building. It was Harada who suddenly decided to help Wolverine and the others, but the snake didn't die. She drew her bow and arrow. She scratched the skin with her fingers. After tearing off a layer of skin, the Viper's condition was restored again. The samurai here fell from the sky. Wolverine hugged and fell. They both fell from tall buildings at the same time. When they got up, the samurai slashed furiously, catched by Wolverine's hands. But in the standoff, the samurai drew his second sword. With a swing of the knife, Wolverine's claws were instantly cut off. Makes Wolverine heart-wrenching in pain. This is the closest Wolverine has come to death. Facing the enemy's broadsword, Wolverine rolled over and fell from the sky. When he stood up, he was attacked by a Viper. Wolverine's eyes temporarily lost their vision as a result. Just then, the samurai came before him again. In a hurry, Wolverine turned around and destroyed the surrounding power grid. Instantly plunged the entire laboratory into darkness, Wolverine took the opportunity to dodge the samurai's sword. They each held a knife. They fought to the death again. However, what Wolverine was puzzled by was, why doesn't his own steel knife have a heating function? As a result, he failed to cut people and was kicked over by the other party. Seeing that his only remaining steel claws are about to be cut, fortunately, Harada shot an arrow through the samurai's head. However, his next move is puzzling. He is obviously a shooter, but he insisted on attacking the enemy in close quarters. The ending can also be imagined. Just then, Wolverine noticed that the samurai always held his sword in both hands. He went down like this. He took out the mech's head. He sprinted on. He hugged the samurai tightly and fell down together. On the way down, Wolverine gripped the iron fence tightly. The samurai also fell into a coma after falling. As Wolverine climbed up, the samurai slashed off the steel claw of Wolverine's other hand with one knife. Then the samurai grabbed Wolverine's arm. He held out the rapidly rotating drill bit. He started to extract the bone marrow of Wolverine. Wolverine also experienced a heart-wrenching hollowing feeling. But when he saw the controller behind the armor, Wolverine's pain completely turned into anger. It turned out that he was the dead Yashida. He pretended to be dead. Send someone to kidnap his granddaughter. His goal is to lure Wolverine. He wanted to get the self-healing factor in Wolverine to achieve immortality. Inescapable. Wolverine continues to age at a rate visible to the naked eye, and Yashida started to look younger. But just as this bitch got carried away, Mariko threw Wolverine's broken claw into his head. Watching Yashida gradually lose control, Wolverine, who had recovered, went forward and dismantled his equipment. Then he pierced Yashida's body with his bone claws. Wolverine sent him down a cliff. Finish this bitch. Wolverine found the woman who sprayed venom. He put the cable around the woman's neck. He then pulls hard. The Viper was immediately suspended in the elevator. And as the elevator rapidly descended, the Viper died instantly. After this battle, Wolverine also completely saw the ugly faces of those Japanese devils. After this is over, Mariko inherited Yashida's business. He wanted Wolverine to stay with her. But Wolverine, who has always liked wandering, he had to bid her farewell. When Wolverine went through security 2 years later, he suddenly saw the metal objects beside him trembling. He already knew who was coming. That's right. This is the Scene Man Magneto. He told Wolverine. Humans have invented a weapon that can wipe out all mutants. He needs Wolverine's help. Do you know what the weapon is?